themselves in deciding what to do if there doesn't seem to be any direction?
Well, right now, this is the thing. Right now, it's about survival for these people. So the only organization that is taking place on the ground is organizing people to each and every entrance and exit to the square. There is no political leadership here, but it must be also, we should know that late last night, there was word from some of the opposition groups that they have pulled out of, they no longer wish to discuss anything with after what has happened. We're waiting for official statements of this. Obviously, on the other side, Vice President Omar Suleiman has said that negotiations won't take place until protests stop. But the situation here on the ground has developed far greater than protests. The fact that blood was spilled in the middle of Cairo for another day after the violent scenes of last Friday and Tuesday shows that there really clearly is a need for that political movement. Now, with regards to al-Baradei, as much as he does have some support across the country, the people here in the square, I've spoken to, many of them have lost faith because they believe if he truly was a leader for the oppressed and for the opposition, then he would have been in amongst the crowd as they were being attacked. Obviously, whether he was able to get or not is up to him to explain to them. But at least from where they are standing and their point of view is, they have lost a certain amount of faith in him.
Thank you very much. We'll, of course, be speaking to you later. Now, Al Jazeera has been speaking with activists and protesters who are gathered at Liberation Square, which is also known as Tahrir Square. And many of them are youths under the age of 25. They're very emotional, but say they are braving the violence for a cause. Among those activists is Mona Saif, who says they will stay put for as long as it takes to effect a regime change.
We've lost a lot of people, and we've lost them for a cause. The cause is that we wanted Mubarak to be out. We can't just, we owe it to them to stick it till the end. We have many injured people. It would be very hard to move them. And we know, everyone in the square knows, if we decided to give in now, they will hunt us one by one. We've been through this. We know it. They are shooting. There are people, there are some of the thugs with rifles on the bridge, and they shot at our demonstrators. Like the latest of our dead protesters, he was shot right through the head. I had two friends watching this happen. We are not leaving this place till Mubarak leaves. So there are only two options for the whole world to do. Either they stick to Mubarak and his regime, and you lose thousands of people in this square, and it does not definitely become the Liberation Square, it becomes the Massacre Square or whatever they want to call it, or they put an end to Mubarak regime and give these people, the remaining people here, a chance at living a good life.
A very emotional voice of one of the protesters there. Now, Wednesday's mass battles finally calmed after night fell on Liberation Square. But for the anti-government protesters camped out there, the darkness brought new threats. Alan Fisher has this report.
Building barricades, preparing for the battle they believe is to come. The anti-Mubarak protesters insist they're not leaving the square until the president leaves office. Throughout the night, the running battles between the two sides continued. Gunfire could be heard in various parts of the city centre. Cars were burnt out, petrol bombs thrown. The injured dragged away. Speaking to Al Jazeera, one anti-Mubarak protester described the events of the night.
We have many injured people. It would be very hard to move them. And we know, everyone in the square knows, if we decided to give in now, they will hunt us one by one. We've been through this. We know it. They are shooting. There are people, there are some of the thugs with rifles on the bridge, and they shot at our demonstrators. Like the latest of our dead protesters, he was shot right through the head. I had two friends watching this happen.
The trouble erupted on Wednesday when pro-government supporters were allowed to enter the square. where those calling for President Mubarak's departure had gathered. The exchanges quickly grew from chants and insults to something much more serious, more violent. Egyptian soldiers have been rarely seen. The army is now facing international criticism for not doing something to stop the violence. Its actions in the coming hours will go a long way to deciding how this battle for Egypt will end. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Okay, let's now go to one of our other correspondents in Cairo for more of what's happening there. People are still gathered in and around Tahrir Square, and the situation is still very tense. We have finally heard from the opposition. We're hearing from the spokesperson of El Baradei saying that Mubarak will be held personally responsible if another, quote, massacre happens in the square. Are you seeing now opposition voices emerge after all the silence and the violence overnight?
Well, not more than... There are real divisions within the opposition here. We've got some parties who are still saying that they are prepared to talk to the vice president if Mubarak steps down, which clearly he's not going to do. There's the other group that says they won't speak to him as long as Mubarak stays in power. So we believe that the opposition leaders who are saying that they are prepared to hold discussions now are facing a break within the party ranks by the youth who don't want their leaders to enter into any negotiations whatsoever. Let me just give you an update now on what I'm seeing as far as pro-Mubarak supporters and what they're doing. They seem to have regrouped at the end of October the 6th bridge, this standoff area where the anti-government demonstrators have set up their metal boarding. They really are regrouping. We're seeing some fire to the left of them. The pro-supporters are trying to set a tree alight. That tree is right next to a building, and there are a lot of anti-government supporters on top of that building. We're also hearing that pro-Mubarak supporters are closing off some parts of the city. They've also taken over Abdeen Palace, and they're trying to stop anti-government supporters from entering the square. And apparently they're also stopping doctors from entering because, as our correspondent was reporting, there are lots of injured people still in the square. We're hearing the chanting coming from the streets. They say, "We are not leaving, we are not leaving, he has to leave." We know that at this stage, the pro-supporters have had weapons with them, and because there were very few security checkpoints yesterday, many of them were able to get into the square. The anti-government demonstrators managed to pick up some of those weapons, but still this, for them, was a peaceful demonstration. We are hearing that anti-government supporters are entering the square, but with just blankets and water to try and refuel the few who are remaining. We're also getting reports that busloads of both pro and anti are entering into Cairo.
It's a very rapidly moving, fluid situation, Jane, and I'm on the screen right now. We're looking at what are anti-government supporters milling around in Tahrir Square. It seems that there is no direction from any side with either whether you're pro or anti. Does it look like there's some kind of a plan or someone calling the shots there?
Well, there are reports that the regime is behind much of the pro-violence that we've seen. It was very well orchestrated. The fact that they were able to throw the Molotov cocktails throughout the night and this morning. Where are they getting all this from? How come they had so many sticks and knives? So, and the fact that many of these pro-supporters who were captured had police ID on them. So there seems to be some sort of strategy there, and the fact that it's been seen to be supported by the regime has backfired in Mubarak's face. We're seeing a much tougher stance when it comes to the U.S. What little support he garnered on Tuesday when he addressed the nation saying that he's not going to step down now, but he will step down after elections in September, that seems to have been all but wiped away. That seems to be undermined by what is seen government support of it. As far as the anti-government demonstrators are concerned, there isn't much leadership. Of course, this is no one group.